Wicked. So I've basically gone through my Friday analysis yesterday, and I'm going to be going through it again today for the Saturday. So what I've done is I've filtered through all my pairs, and essentially I've just kind of narrowed down the ones that I'll be looking at, the ones for next week, and then the ones that I won't be looking at really. So I will be doing this again one more time tomorrow, just filtering through the ones I've chosen and then kind of picking out six that I'll keep on watch and then six that could potentially shape up. But usually the ones that are which could shape up are not the ones that I'm focusing on. They're just ones that I'll be monitoring. But if they do shape up, then obviously I'm well prepared for them. So that's basically what I'll be doing tomorrow. But yeah, let's get straight into it with the DXY. So essentially keeping it really simple, looking at this override zone, we've bypassed this. Price has been trickling, don't get me wrong, we can absolutely impulse down, so we can have that strong push and then just start selling off. But at the moment I'm kind of just looking at price moving in through here, and just slowly pretty much making its way to the top. It's been very corrective, so essentially I'm seeing this as an impulse correction continuation to the upside, and then probably see something quite similar happen again and then continue back up. So that's essentially what I will be looking at, and yeah, just taking it slow, step by step. But it definitely makes a lot of sense when I'm looking at a few other pairs as well for this particular outcome. However, anything can change. If we do begin to sell off, then we just look for something simple like that and go off. But obviously this is the daily chart, and this is what I'll be looking at. Obviously looking on the lower time frames, we are moving pretty corrective, so I am looking at that. Perhaps maybe evolving the structure could be ever so much a little bit more beneficial, patterns within patterns and so forth. But at the moment, just trading what I see, and I'm seeing this as a bull flag, so I'm going to take it slow. So Aussie CAD, this one I've been contemplating maybe filtering through. I will have another look on it tomorrow as well, but essentially we've come to this. Well, if we go to the higher time frame on the weekly, what we can see is we've actually broken below this low. It's no surprise that we'll be creating some sort of corrections. How large, we can't really tell at this stage, but it makes a lot of sense for price to be correcting like this. Now this could be accumulation for price to push up higher. Doesn't mean that we'll accumulate this price and push low, but if I am going to be taking a trade, I will be looking for the short on this particular pair, and how I'll be looking to take it is so we've got this section here where we created a high, we pushed down, we created a low, we did reject multiple times down here. However, with the equal spacing that we've got between here, and this final ending structure here using rule of three, so we impulsed up, we created this sort of 1 2 3, we got to the third touch, we corrected, and now we're creating a pattern within this larger structure pattern within this pattern as well, and we've ended with a pattern as well, which also always makes it that much more towards my edge. So essentially what I'm looking for is price to pretty much show its cards, but I'm looking for a 1 2 3 ending structure. I'm looking for price to come here, correct to the middle section, doesn't have to be as clean as one would want, and then we push up for the third touch. Would I opt in for the reduced risk entry? Probably. Sorry, for the risk entry, no. I would opt in for the push down, create a flag, push down, create a flag, and continue. So that's what I'll be looking for on a reduced risk. So yeah, essentially that would be the game plan for Aussie CAD. The next one I've got is Aussie New Zealand. This one I've been contemplating possibly just keep it on watch, but I don't think I will. It's just I think it might take quite a while to shape up. Even though price has been very corrective, we could take a strong impulse, push up, come back down, or push down, come back up. It's just I can't really say that this is the bottom over here and this is the top. I mean, it's sort of more for speculation for me at this point, and price is nowhere near giving me the sort of price action I want to be involved in at this point. So with this corrective price here, this push down, corrective price here, we could just continue pushing and forming these very, very messy sort of structures. So at the moment, I think for Aussie New Zealand, I'll take that one off, but it's definitely looking quite nice because we are below that structure there as well. We've broken below here, strong impulse, but this could be one that could shape up and definitely from here to about here, there's definitely some really nice percentage to be made. So that's one that I'll definitely be looking at maybe next week or the week after, but at the moment I don't know if it has enough for it to give me a good entry. The next one I'm going to be looking at is Swiss yen. Swiss yen is also one of the yen pairs that I think, it's near enough giving us some sort of entry, but is it one that could trickle us out? That's the only thing that I'm some level of concerned about. So what I do like is that, we are moving in this corrective channel. We do have a middle section here as well, and we've come in with a 1-2, didn't complete the third touch. We don't have to, because in the larger time frame structure, what we have on the weekly is we have a 1-2-3. We've met with the 1-2-3. We've broken with a final ending structure on the higher time frame of a corrective structure, which definitely has a lot of good confluences. And how we've broken it towards the end is we've impulsed back down, and we've created this ending corrective structure. We could say that we're meeting with this double top here, and this is just an anomaly in the market. However, if I was to be taking a position here, I wouldn't be looking to take a position within this larger corrective structure, because we can still correct all the way back up to this higher time frame override. What I would be looking for ideally is either a push down here, a flag, and a push down and a flag below that low. Now I think that would be some level of higher probability, and also depending on how we get there. If it's very corrective, it won't be something I'm looking for, but with this impulsive leg here, if we can continue with this sort of momentum, that would be something I would be interested in. So that's one of the reasons why I think Swiss yen might make it onto my watch list. But and I've said this multiple times, yen pairs isn't my favorite pairs to be traded, so don't be surprised if I choose last minute not to take it. But for a lot of people that do enjoy capitalizing, and it's definitely a time in the markets for these yen pairs, there's definitely some good opportunity to be made. So I definitely keep that in mind. The next one I'm looking at is Euro Aussie. I like Euro Aussie just for the pure fact that we have this structural sort of impulse correction, large correction again, and it is getting fairly corrective, giving us that sort of bull flag sort of corrective feel. But I think if we are going to push and to go to a target zone, this definitely looks like a nice area for us to retest. And I think, with the momentum that we're seeing in the sort of rejection here, I do like this actually, I really do. And I think this is one of the reasons why I'm definitely going to be opting into having this on watch next week. I think this particular pair is gonna be a very nice pair to be traded. So EA is definitely in my top 6 next week. I'll reevaluate tomorrow. Anything can change, different mindset, but definitely looking at it right now, push down from here, kind of just pushes out all of that, comes back into this pattern, creates a nice flag for me to get involved in. I'll be in for that trade, and I think that is the go-to trade for me next week. Evaluating a lot of my watch list, but I really like EA, so definitely keep eyes on that one. The next one I've got on is EURCAD. So a couple ways I'm going to look at EURCAD. Really and truly, I'm seeing this as pattern separation here. So if I go to the weekly, what we have is we've pushed down, we've pretty much reached this level here and pushed above. I don't think that we're just going to continue obviously going in one direction. We have to create some sort of level of structures where we can actually accumulate and make some money and build up some momentum in the market. So just drilling down to the 4-hour here, what we can see is, we could potentially be in this larger structure, this being the high, this being the low, could turn into a little bit of a messier expanding. I wouldn't say it would be too much of a difference, maybe just a few pips across. But what I do like here is we have this sort of middle section that created the second touch high, rejected, set as a full retrace, push down, and now we're creating that flag just under this. This could be enough momentum for us to push to the low here, and I think for that reason alone, EURCAD is definitely one that I'll definitely be thinking about putting on watch as well. So what I'm actually looking at is this is the middle section for this particular separated pattern. And we push up here, we create a 1, 2, 3, we get that rejection. I don't know if I'll be looking for the full retrace over here, but I'll certainly be looking for a push down, a flag, some level of potentially an AFT, which is an advanced trading lower time frame analysis, which includes the entry, or I might just look for 15-minute, and then if I do miss any trade there, then I'll definitely opt in for the flag below here, bearing in mind that we can push to this low and come back up. But then if we do break below that, there'll be another entry over here, which once again, it won't be the most highest of probabilities of trades. I mean, I would ideally want to be in trades up here. but there'll be some opportunities, but it's just showing the abundance of opportunity that I'll be looking for. And then obviously we'll meet that low, and then we can look for buys, and then join the actual trending direction. So that's basically what I'm looking for, and I truly do believe that, you know, this level of corrective price definitely has momentum to come back down to these lows, but I'm not looking at these lows. I'm just looking at this particular zone here, and I'd like to be trading in it. So how I'd like to say that is basically these 2 points here. And that's it for EC. The next one I've got is EURGBP. EURGBP it's one that I think it still has a lot of momentum for it to trickle and keep going higher. Could even reach these levels up here. So that's what I'm definitely bearing in mind, that, you know, the price doesn't have to actually just stop here. However, what I'm seeing is that price can, with the momentum that I'm seeing, build a level of, you know, a running channel, or we can just continue moving lower. So if I was going to be taking this one, which I'm still contemplating, I think I would essentially just be looking for keeping it very simple. And I do like how we're getting there, is the solid push down, flag here, push down, and even if the flag was lower, I'm not too fast. Even if it was a bit down here, I'd be looking for a flag and then just basically take that to the short. So, and then I'll be looking and reevaluating once we reach this particular low. So that's essentially how I'll be looking to take this particular trade. But at this moment in time, I don't know if I have enough for myself. So I'll definitely be patient with this one. Sick. So Euro New Zealand dollar. I think this one's a fairly simple one for me to take. So essentially, what we've seen is, and we'll just go to the monthly actually. So it's very corrective, as we can see, and we've really got to separate what we have here. So we have this sort of trend here, which I'll just draw on very roughly, and we broke it, but we broke it very correctively, and I don't think that price has really been committing at this point. However, we did come to this 1, 2, 3 sort of override section over here. We've been rejecting every time we've come here, and it's fairly good rejections. However, the third time we got there, what we can see is we didn't have the same similar price action. And I think after re-evaluating that sort of price action, I think this could potentially be a larger structure on the high to push us further, bearing in mind that we can still drop off. You know, it doesn't have to create this sort of structure and go further, but I think with the momentum that we've seen, how we've approached it, it's unlike how we've approached it before. Before, we've approached it, you know, very slow, very trickly, and this time, you know, we actually came in with some momentum. So that's the fine line difference. And I think if I'm going to be taking a trade, it will be basically along these lines. So drilling down on the 4-hour chart, I'll look at this as one big zone here. I'll see that price comes down over here. Not really concerned about what it does down there, but it pushes down, comes back up. Not looking for any particular candlestick confirmation at this point. I'm looking more so for price to come in here, create some sort of corrections, and then I can get involved on them. So I will have to evaluate on the 1 hour and so forth, but bearing in mind, if I am getting involved in these two areas here, depending on how price reaches that trend line, then I'm going to have to reevaluate and see that if it's worth me holding into these positions or potentially just being aggressive with my management. Once we've broken above it, I will be looking for some sort of larger structure to give me some extra confirmation to say, okay, this is the messier middle section for this larger pattern for us to potentially carry on and go. And then we can start reevaluating once we reach these highs, and if we break these highs, how much further will we go? And then we can start weighing up more technicals where we can just take impulse to corrections, and then add them on, and then just see where it can meet, and then potentially we might even get to this potential high, and then, you know, see where we go. So that's basically the outlook for Euro New Zealand, but I think Euro New Zealand is definitely one that's going to look really nice for next week. Cool. So Euro USD. This is always a tricky one for me to think if I want to put it on. I mean, you know, looking at it from hindsight, it's always one of those ones where when the structures play out, you start to think, wow, you know, they really commit, they really look after you, and it's a really nice trade to actually be in, a lot of Euro USD trades. And I think for the forthcoming years, I think I'm actually going to enjoy trading Euro USD a lot more than I have been over the past few years. So how I'm looking at this is drilling down from the higher time frame. We have basically met with this particular low. There's no major significance with it, but how we've got there is very corrective. Now we can continue to correct and go to this low, just like we're seeing with the DXY, how it's correcting. So what I'm actually looking at is two things. If this is the reversal point, then we can potentially just go and keep going, and then everything changes, especially with the DXY and so many other instruments. However, looking at um, a lot of the nature of this one and how we've actually been moving, this is no different to how we've been moving over here. And I definitely think this is another opportunity. Perhaps maybe it could extend a little bit further, but I think this one is particularly could be going short. So what I'm currently looking at is I want to see if there's any structure forming at the final area here, because we have moved pretty impulsively in this final leg. If we can create some structure, create 1, 2, 3, meet with this higher line trend line. If we don't meet it, it's not a big concern, but it will give me that extra confluence that I'm looking for. If we can meet there with structure, and then we'll look for a push down and a flag. If we break above it and we start creating structure, that would be really nice. What I am contemplating is where this forms, because if it forms above this particular high over here, then that might be a bit nicer, because but then you have this high, and then you're always going to be second guessing it. So one of the reasons why I don't mind taking it here is because if it is above here, then I've got that high to be concerned. If it's above there, then it is a little bit better, but then again, it's one of those ones where I think it's up to discretion, knowing that if I take this, I could be tagged in and out. However, there might be enough, there is enough room for me to lock in 1%, regardless if I take a position here, if I take a position above here, and definitely if I take a position over here. So there's a lot of abundance of opportunity there, but EURUSD is one I'm probably going to come back and reevaluate tomorrow. GBP Aussie, this one fairly simple as well, actually, to be honest. So higher time frame, we've basically come to a inflection zone. We rejected pretty sharply from that zone. Definitely a lot of people I know were looking at this particular area, so well done to all those people who were able to catch that trade. That's pretty sick. I mean, we definitely had a pin bar at the top over there. We were rejected. I was a bit concerned that we'll come down here, but from here to here, there's so much opportunity as well. I was able to actually get involved in a trade over here as well, but unfortunately, I was taken out, I think roughly around about here. Is what it is, but still made 3.5%, and now we're actually giving us more opportunity. So the cool thing about this is if we can form a flag over here, depending on how it shapes up and when it shapes up, that will be extremely nice, because just looking at this could shape up over the course of Monday, and then by Tuesday I'm already in the trade, or even by Monday I might be in the trade, and then I could actually be banking around about another 6, 7, 8%. So in total, GA is looking really good, but bearing in mind we could create a larger flag and start moving higher as well, because the higher time frame is looking very bullish. So that's something that I am looking at, because we are in a state of impulse, correction, continuation, correction, impulse, correction. So we are in this larger correction, even though it has extended out further. Just as we've come down, we can come back up. So bearing that in mind, and the way we have been moving is very corrective. So just being on my management game there, but if I am looking to take a trade, definitely looking for a flag, take it short, and then potentially look at this low, that low, or potentially even further. So that's basically it for GA. Next one I'm looking at is GBPCAD. GBPCAD, very simple as well. We've had that break below, push back up, and now we're creating this sort of well, I would say that it definitely isn't ascending, but it could be a running channel at this point because of where we are. And I think this definitely has a lot of potential to just keep going. We have a lot of money built up in this area as well. But the only other thing I'm concerned about is there is this level of a potential expanding, and this just has room to create a larger flag for us to go further down. So have to be aware of that as well. But I think the real gameplay that I'm looking for is definitely longs. I think GBPCAD is going to be a really nice pair to trade, but I don't prefer to take longs on patterns like this. So that might just be a lack of experience at this point, but once again, I think I'll give this one a little bit of time to mature, and I think once it really does shape up and give me some sort of opportunities that I can actually really capitalize on, that might be something of interest to myself. So I think at this point, it will definitely be one I'll have in the background on watch, but I won't be taking any trades on it. It will be just a bit like EJ, just some lessons to be learned on it, and levels of improvement. So I'll definitely keep this one in the background, but I don't think I'm going to be taking any trades of it. GBP Swiss. I was a little bit surprised when I had this one on watch, to be honest. I do like GBP Swiss. It's definitely one of the nicer GBP pairs, in my opinion. We broke that low, we pushed up. It's very funny because I did get a trade all the way at the bottom over here. So forever, whilst this one runs, I'm always going to remember my trade down here. But it's just a trade. You know, there's so many trades, one over here, one over there, one over there. You know, abundance of opportunity. So basically, just looking at how price is moving, we're basically in this sort of range right now. So what I'm currently looking at is how we get out of this range. Are we going to see ourselves come back down before we go up? Possible. It's very possible. But I think at this point we've had 1, 2, 3 retests, and now we have a strong push away. Unlike the other pushes away, you know, we didn't kind of just sit here for ages. You know, now that we've actually kind of gone away, at this point, we could potentially see us reach back to these levels up here. So what I'm kind of more interested about right now is if we can break above this level here, will we create a correction there? And yeah, so if I was going to take this, I would look for something to shape up, a push up, nice little tight flat flag over here somewhere, and then we basically just keep going. And then I'll be aware of this point, potential ascendings. You know, these sort of structures are quite difficult sometimes because you definitely need to be on well, you need to be on point with your structures because a lot of things can happen, and if you haven't evolved your trend lines enough, you know, you can get caught out and really miss something. So you know, patterns within patterns within patterns within these very corrective areas definitely got to be on point. So that's something that I'll definitely be aware of. And yeah, I don't think I'll be taking a trade on GP Swiss just because we have an abundance of greater trades on the table. So I will be taking that one off, but if I was going to be taking it, this is how I'd be looking at it. Okay, so GBP New Zealand dollar. This is one that I think is going to shape up and be really nice. I think it's going to shape up towards the possibly. Do you know what? It could be any time. I think Wednesday, Tuesday, Monday. You know, just really depends. I mean, looking at this on a 4-hour time frame, we're so close. We're there. How I'm looking to take this is a push down, push back up, and a flag. Even though there is some sort of, well, it's impulsive to me. It's really, right now. It's the end instruction is impulsive. We've got there correctively, but we are in an impulsive leg. But we could form some structure down here. So the only reason, because I see this corrective price here, this could get a little bit messy and start creating a descending, could create an expanding, it could form into a bunch of things. So I want to definitely be sharp with this one, but I'll keep this one very close. I'll keep this one in my wildcards, potentially on watch. I'll reevaluate that tomorrow, but because we also are inside this sort of corrective channel squeeze here, I don't want to just get caught into a trade, get tagged out, get caught in. You know, you risk a lot from being in these areas, and I think when the trade shapes up, it shapes up, and you know when it shapes up. But definitely have to be patient with these particular pairs. But once we break above this, if we do create some sort of flags out here, I'll be very much inclined to be looking for trades because I think despite having this as an inflection zone to the left, we have the higher time frame on our favor, and we could essentially start making those highs and start pushing further. However, the other thing is, if we are unable to do that and we do create some sort of head and shoulders, I'll also be aware of that as well. So you know, that's something else I'm looking at, but I see this as an impulse correction continuation, and we'll really be moving towards maybe potentially this sort of zone here in the higher time frame. So that's just something I'm being aware of, but I'm not too concerned about that now because that is days, weeks, months away. I'm more interested in this particular high, this particular low, and see what we do when we get to each side. So that's where we are right now. Next one is GBPUSD. It's quite similar to a few GBP pairs. I mean, you know, push up, large flag, continuation. I think this one's actually it's a little bit, let's say, well, I'll explain it. So we had this sort of larger flag sort of forecast over here, right? And what we saw was we were looking at this is the low, price comes to the low, pushes up, right? And what we currently see is essentially the same thing, but it's actually on a smaller scale. So we had that sort of this is the low, we had that corrective price push there, broke below, push back up, and I think it's the same thing. And now I think that this is the move to go higher. So I think drilling down to the lower time frame, I'm actually going to be looking for some sort of corrective price in this sort of area here, and this could potentially be the flag that takes me further. So obviously bearing in mind there, but as long as I have some room to manage it, that's completely fine. If we do get some sort of flag here, and we do create some sort of level of 1, 2, 3, you know, or just that corrective sort of price squeeze, and I've got enough room to actually take a entry, I actually would be very interested to see how that plays out, because looking at price like this is the low, this is the break below the low, the push up, the corrective squeeze in the middle with going up. This could be the room for us to go further. Obviously, bearing in mind we could create something a little bit deeper further on, but there'll definitely be at least, you know, a very decent amount of percentage from here to here, or even to here, or even above. So, you know, GBPUSD, definitely going to keep that one on watch next week. 6. So the next one I've got is USDCAD. Big fan of USDCAD in my opinion. I think USDCAD is definitely going to be a nice one. So we've got this potential inflection zone. We've pushed up impulsively and we started creating a correction. Now, I think the thing about USDCAD is, even though I like it a lot, I don't think it's ready yet, and I think it's definitely looking ready, but it's not. I think what we're going to see is this is a larger correction zone forming from this continuation to this correction to go further, which could potentially meet with a lot of the other US pairs as well. So, you know, I'm definitely going to keep this on watch. I'm not in favor of how price is going, but if we do start getting that sell off, that will be extremely nice. You know, I would like to see some sort of structure, middle section, third touch, push off, flag, push off, breaks below here, those entries. Oh, it's going to be great. So USDCAD, definitely going to be thinking about that one tomorrow, but I'm not too sure if I'm going to be keeping that one on watch, probably on wildcards. The next one I've got is USD Swiss. So what I do like about USD Swiss is we've got this sort of override zone here. We've pushed up and we've started to push back down. So looking on the right hand side over there, then if we look at it, it is a corrective structure, and I don't think this is the room, the trade for us to go all the way down. It can be, but it's not the one that I'm really banking on. I'm just looking at to see how low it can go. What I do like is we've come in with some structure over here, ending structure, and how we've got there is really nice, larger structure inside it. You know, we've met with the override, we've broken above it, we've impulsed back down. What I am looking for, just because I don't think taking a trade over here is really something that I'd want to do. A flag down here, yeah, absolutely, I'll definitely consider something over here. However, I'll be more inclined for this low to be broken and see a flag down there. That is something I'm looking for, especially because we have a pressure all the way down here. I wouldn't be surprised if we did start correcting over here, create some level of a hover, and then we go. So a hover over here is definitely in my plan, but I don't know with this particular structure if it's something that I would want to take. I would have to reevaluate that and really look into it. But you know, I think more so I'd be looking for this flag down here. That is the trade that I'll be looking for, because in terms of percentage, I'll have a lot of room to manage my trade, and it'll be one I think personally, mentally, I feel a lot more comfortable being in. So definitely for USD Swiss, it's definitely one that I think I would opt in over a few other of the US pairs. And the last one, but not least, out of the ones that I am potentially looking at putting onto my watch list and wildcards, is USD Yen. Now, USD Yen is one that I think has abundance of opportunity if it does commit. What I do like about it is the structure. So looking at it on the weekly, what we've done is we've actually come to this inflection zone and we've pushed above impulsively within structure, 1, 2, 3, within this larger override zone. Of course, we can potentially move to even further points, but the nice thing about USD Yen right now is that when we got there, yes, we did move up, but it's not uncommon to see head and shoulders as well. And I think, you know, getting into this sort of area here is definitely a very good, valuable area. However, because of the particular characteristics of this pair and my personal experiences that haven't really evolved yet, because you know, I haven't really had enough experience with this particular pair, I wouldn't be looking to take a trade just somewhere over here. I'd be looking for more confirmation. So, you know, if we do get a really nice flag that shapes up here, it would definitely be of interest to me, because it's definitely above the left shoulder forecast. However, if we do you know, don't create this and we do start selling off, then I would be looking for a sell flag opportunity down here, but I would bear in mind that it could be much larger than I could anticipate. So it could just be, you know, pretty much around about here. So you know, that as well could be something. But you know, I think there'll be more than enough opportunity, but it won't shape up until probably end of this month, or even yeah, probably end of this month, or probably towards end of November, mid-November ish, just depending on how price action goes. So that's USD yen, to be honest. And now we're just going to jump into the ones that I didn't put on to watch, and I'm forecasting that, you know, we're basically a week behind on them. Cool. So this one is Aussie Swiss. The reason why I don't believe that it's ready to shape up, definitely something can change during the now and then, but I just don't know if this sort of price here is enough for me to say I'm going to take this trade. So what we have is this break below this low. We're having a solid push up. We've had this momentum pushing down, trickling. What we have is this sort of corrective squeeze here, and I think because I'm seeing price a little bit like this, I don't really think that I would want to be taking a small little push up and a flag here, or uh, I mean, it could definitely play out. It's just, I think this could just evolve and then just kind of get a bit messier, and you know, I need to start involving my structures and stuff. And you know, what I would rather like to see is, you know, we've had a solid push away now. We'll create a flag up here somewhere and we go. But I think by the time that happens, we'll be moving into the beginning of next week, and that's the reason why I took Aussie Swiss off. Next one's Aussie US dollar. Same situation. I just think, you know, by the time we kind of push up here, there'll definitely be some point next week, but then we'll start pushing down. And then I think if I was going to get in a trade, I'll be looking for a trade somewhere around about probably for the third touch, push back up. And you know, I don't really know. I mean, I don't think this is a sort of trade I want to get into right now. I think if it is going to shape up, I'll definitely give it some time. You know, we are moving impulse correction, so we could just continue. But because of the variations of what I've been looking at, I just don't think that I'll be looking for it. But if there was trades there, definitely where I've boxed out these zones, this is where I'll be looking for trades on this particular pair. So, you know, definitely entry over here, large flag over here, push down for the retrace, back up, small flag, and then I wouldn't be looking for a middle section one because we could come in for a two touch. I'm sorry, a halfway meet and then sell back. So you know, something like this, and then it meets with this section here, and that becomes something in itself. You know, those are the sort of ones that I don't want to get involved in. So it would be the traditional three touch falcon flag at this point, and then see how it goes. But that's essentially it for EU. I definitely meant AU. Aussie yen. Aussie yen is also one, I think, you know, if we're going to go, this could be the left shoulder, head, right shoulder. Oh, sorry, Aussie yen is definitely a sick pair. Honestly, pretty sick. It's just, once again, lack of experience, and it's a shame because we're in such a great time for these particular pairs. To have a lack of experience is definitely a letdown. But you know, I don't want to just force a trade because of what I assume. I'd like to learn from it so that when it does shape up in 5, 6, 10 years from now, you know, I'll be so ready for it. I'll be like, I experienced this years ago. I know how this plays out. So that's more valuable to me than actually just banking, you know, a couple percent, maybe 50-60%. It's just percentage at the end of the day. So what I'm liking here is, if we separate this from all of this, is we've got left shoulder, head, right shoulder. It's no surprise that, you know, we wicked up, we actually just rejected bang on there, and we push down. Now what we could see is if we do continue and we get down here and we create a flag below that low there, I'll be looking at an entry over here potentially for us to go low and then create a flag over here. This is the flag I'm more interested in. And looking at the time frame, even if we moved very impulsively, it would be towards the end of the week, and then the flag would start shaping up. If that happens, that would be more interest to myself. If for any reason this does just start dramatically selling off, even so, we would have to be waiting for some larger corrections. So, you know, that's one of the reasons why I thought, if I'm going to get in this, I'll get into somewhere that I think, you know, at least I've got more confirmation on my side, and a larger flag would be something of nice. I mean, the larger flags are pretty good on AJ, so that's something that, yeah, I'll definitely wait for. Next one is CAD yen. So CAD yen is also same situation. I'm looking for that push up, push down sort of situation. You know, looking on the weekly, you know, we've broken that mass psychology area, so we have all the right to sell off. But you know, looking at it in a structural way, we didn't exactly come for that that second touch override. We missed it, and you know, I don't think that it's necessary for us to come all the way back up. But I do think that if this is going to be, you know, this is going to be the sell, you know, I'm in my head, I'm thinking like, show me the money. Like, let's get here, let's sell off, let's create a flag, let's move there, create a larger flag. Maybe we might even see a head and shoulders like we're going to see on AJ, or potentially see, and then push down, create another flag, and let's go. So abundance of opportunity, not looking for the risk entry, looking for the 1, 2, 3, mass psychology broken, come back into this larger area, and then we sell off, and then we'll see where we go from there. So for that reason alone, even looking at it coming up here for the push up and then push down, and then giving us some of this, I think giving that some time, that could be some point in November. So, I'm definitely going to be patient with that, but that's one of the reasons why I decided to not have CAD yen considered for a trade this week. I think Euro Swiss actually is also really nice. I'm just looking for a larger flag essentially. So, similar to a lot of the other Euro pairs we looked at, it'll break the mass psychology, come back up. And I think if we go larger flag, unfortunately, we do meet with this sort of left section over here, but I'm not too concerned about that because the higher time frame is definitely looking like impulse correction, impulse, very corrective. If we can create something enough for me to say, okay, you know what, this overrides that, I'm happy to look at this and then kind of just go forward with that and just see this as its own sort of price. So one of the reasons why I've basically opted in for Euro Swiss to be for weeks where I think it's going to shape up, probably second week of November for a trade over here, maybe November around about here. So who knows, it can shape up a lot quicker, it can be a lot slower, but I think just give it some time, it will reveal its cards and then we'll get involved. So the next one I've got is New Zealand CAD. One of the reasons is I just don't think this is ready as well. I think prices is very messy at the moment. We're moving, impulse correction. We are moving towards this potential area. This could just go even further, could come up here. But I'm looking for a larger flag pattern. I don't think this is anywhere near ready actually. I don't even think it's going to be ready next week. But I think for the shorts, if we do meet some area, I can't determine if that's going to be the flag zone, but what I do have is on the higher time frame, we've broken below this low, we've come to this inflection zone, we've started to reject. Is that going to be the inflection zone that pulls us up further? Not too sure, and I don't want to be guessing on the left hand side, but definitely we've broken this low, and then we came back up, but we couldn't commit, we continued down. So any larger correction down here could definitely be continuation to the downside because we are in a strong downtrend. And yeah, essentially that's it. So New Zealand CAD, extra patient with that one. Last but not least is New Zealand Swiss. Unfortunately, I just don't think there's a trade ready at all on this one at the moment. And hence the reason why it's not going to be on watch or wildcards. But we've got this as a low. We broke below this low. We previously came down, pushed up, couldn't really go with it, create some level for running channel, push down, created a flag, and now we're down here. And I think if we are going down there, let's create one last final flag to go to the downside. I think something like this would not be obviously catch it a little bit better, but looking at it like this, comes up, meets with a second sort of section over here, and then we start selling off, something like that could be a possibility. It's not really a trade I want to entertain. I think there's a lot of better trades on the table, and if I'm going to focus my attention, I'm not going to focus my attention on that. I'm going to look for something a little bit better. So at the moment, that is basically a trade for to be looked at. But New Zealand Swiss, I don't think it's one to waste my time and my attention on. I think there's better trades to be made. So for that reason, I think New Zealand Swiss is not ready. But if it was going to be going, I'll definitely be looking at this section here. Or even this inflection zone here, see when price gets there, look for some inside structure, 1, 2, 3 meets up there, we push above, catch people on the wrong side, sell off, and then we're in the run all the way down. And I think that would be a much cooler trade to be involved in. But for that simple reason, I don't think this is a trade that I'm looking for. But like I said, opportunity, abundance of opportunity everywhere. And yeah, I think going into next week, there's a few trades that I looked at, which was like USD ZAR. I just really couldn't be bothered to want to get involved in this until we potentially get to a higher value area or we see something significantly sell. New Zealand yen, compared to other yen pairs, this one definitely has a middle section here. It's not one that I think is anywhere ready. I think third touch up here. New Zealand CAD, it needs to develop. GBP yen, same. It's been trickling. This can just evolve, get a bit messier. Price changes, creates a flag. So many things can happen. It's just not bothered about GJ. the 4-hour chart on GBP Swiss, very contemplatable. You know, it's just looking for a push up a flag to get pulled back in. It's just, where do you want to be in structure, and it's not one I want to be in. CAD Swiss, CAD Swiss, you know, definitely has potential. It's just I want to look at something larger. I want to see it come back up to this zone, sells down, creates a flag, and then, you know, we can get into moves down. So that's something I'd be looking for on that one, but that's weeks away. And then, you know, Aussie New Zealand. Aussie New Zealand is nice, but with everything else on the table, I don't know if this is one I'll be looking for. But Aussie New Zealand's definitely been accumulating a lot of price and a lot of money in here. Bear in mind, you know, looking at it on a daily time frame as well, you know, it's definitely in a very good area. It's just, with all this momentum moving down, I would like to see some sort of larger correction that could take a few days as well. And I think, you know, this is, it's definitely got momentum to build up a lot of price for it to just sell. And you know, there could be a lot of money to be made on this particular pair, because boy, when this one sells, it can sell. So that's one to just bear in mind. But for myself, it's something that I've just opted to not look at. But who knows, maybe tomorrow I might come back and say, hey, do you know what, I really actually like this after analyzing it, going back over all my data. So I'll reanalyze it tomorrow and see what I think. But really and truly, I don't think it's going to be on watch. But yeah, thanks for watching. And yeah, look forward to posting my Sunday market breakdown tomorrow. Take care. Bye-bye.